what are the qualities of a true disciple?
Yes, okay. So we come back once more to my master, his master, and we disciples of the Babuji Maharaj, the great. And now we have the next generation of Abhyasis, what I can call the fourth generation. And so within a span of, say, 1945 to 2005, 60 years, the mission has been founded, and the teaching has spread to almost all countries of the world. There are Abhyasis everywhere. And even in European countries, we find that there is the second generation of Abhyasis which have come up now, especially in Denmark, where original Abhyasis from Babuji's time have married, produced children, they have grown up, and they are married now. And soon there will be a third generation of Abhyasis. And so it will go on, I hope, to the 100th generation. A generation normally means 30 years. So 100 generations will mean 3,000 years. A generation does not mean the gap between father and son. It means 30 years. Now when Lalaji founded this system of Sahaj Marg, or as according to Babuji Maharaj, he rediscovered it. There have been some questions. In fact, I received a question yesterday by email from an Abhyasi in the USA who has been influenced by outside forces. People who don't believe in Lalaji Maharaj, people who don't believe in Babuji Maharaj, and who now suddenly after 4 or 5 years of Abhyas, this Abhyasi asks me, what is the authority for accepting Lalaji Maharaj as the Adi Guru of our system? Because Babuji Maharaj has no proof except his own declaration in which he says that he was instructed by Lalaji Maharaj to declare himself as his successor. This sort of question can arise only from not merely a confused mind, but a mind which lacks faith, which after 4 or 5 years of practice still lacks conviction, because conviction is based on practice and on the results of practice. Therefore, the practice has not been done systematically enough, deeply enough, in obedience to the principles of Sahaj Marg. And therefore, this unfortunate Abhyasi lacks practical proof of its veracity, which now demands that other proofs be given to it. I am just pointing this out to show how we can go into a retrograde, or as a fighter plane, often goes into a dive from which it cannot recover, a spin dive. And that is the trouble, that is a big problem which leads to lack of faith and probably, running away from Sahaj Marg, which emphasizes the need fundamentally for regular, systematic, obedient practice of Sahaj Marg according to the practice given and according to principles of Sahaj Marg and according to the 10 maxims of Sahaj Marg. We know that people produce food from recipes. Suppose the recipe calls for a certain structure. What should be done first, what should be done second, what should be done third, how much of each constituent of that recipe, how much of salt, how much of pepper. And we choose to ignore all this and say salt, pepper. And the final food is, unpalatable, probably inedible. Can you blame the recipe? People do not appreciate that the final proof of the system, the guru, the verification of his bona fides rests in what you make of the system. Unless your practice gives you satisfactory results, convincing results, you will not continue to follow it. And because the human ego will not say to itself, you did not practice properly, therefore, my dear friend, you have failed. It will blame first the master, next it will blame his master, question their antecedents, question their legitimacy, question anything they like. So you see, we don't first accept the Guru's validification. We accept what it does to us. Babuji said you can only accept what you can based on what you have proved to yourself from this practice. He said, I make no claims. I make no promises. I do not say I can take you to liberation or here or there, whatever. I only say if you practice this and prepare yourself spiritually by cleaning, by obedience to the commandments or maxims as we call them, then it invokes the grace of the Guru and helps you on your onward path. The Guru's grace can only come to us when we are clean, when we are properly prepared, when the mind is properly prepared, and when inside and outside we have a certain level of acceptance of both the Guru and his teaching. And then the third element comes into play, his grace, and then everything is possible. As I have always told Abhyasis, or hopefully those who are going to become Abhyasis, everything depends on the practice. We start with the practice, prove the practice in our own self, each one individually. Yes, I have progressed. I have found that my anger is less, that my passions have come down, that I am beginning to get my mind into a state of one-pointedness, that I am able to do in 5 minutes what used to take me 2 hours, that I am more balanced at the end of the day than I was ever before, that my blood pressure is down, and so on and so forth, you see. Then we say, who gave me this system? It was the great master and his master who rediscovered this system, therefore my gratitude to them. And then comes the question of my relationship with the master. So our relationship as Abhyasis is first with the practice. No Guru is involved. Until some time has passed when I have proved the system in itself, and they say, yes, now I trust my Guru, because I have seen how it works. His system works, it has done so much for me. Then our relationship is slowly transferred from the practice to the Guru. Now we say, anything he does, I will obey. Anything he says, I will obey. Anything he asks me to do, I will do. Why? Because all that he has said has worked for me in my life. So nobody starts with proof of the Guru and his validity and his legitimacy as a Guru. It starts with your proving the practice in yourself. So the system has to be proved every time a new Abhyasi comes into it, for himself, by himself. The Guru has nothing to do with the proof of the system, because as I said at the beginning, the Guru claims nothing, the Guru promises nothing. He only says, if you do this, in this and this and this way, systematically, regularly, day in and day out, you do the meditation properly, you do the cleaning properly, you do the night prayer properly, it leads into constant remembrance, then comes the relationship with the Guru. Till then, he is like a mountain guide taking you along with it. You may drop him halfway through and say, oh, Everest, who wants to get there? I go back home, see, and relax. So faith is nothing we can expect from Abhyasi in the beginning, because obviously, how can I have faith in somebody I've never known before? Some cases, yes, those very, very, very fortunate souls who may descend on this earth once in, I don't know, 1,000 years, who look at him, fall in love with him, and they are there. Those are extremely rare. The run of the mill are people who come, who judge again, and then go and go into blogs on the computer, which is a curse today, caused by everybody having a computer, And these blogs are able to influence an Abhyasi's mind more than the truth of the practice, the merit of the practice, and its ability to produce in you profound changes which nothing else has produced so far. Why we always set up the truth of our own proving the practice? Why do we ignore the proof that we produce in ourselves after some, level of intercourse with the Guru, and prefer to have hearsay evidence from disgruntled people who have left the mission, from fallouts, from dropouts, from enemies of spirituality, only shows how easily the human mind is perverted by outside forces. And therefore, Babuji said, don't listen to others. Do only this practice. Obey only me for 6 months. If it is satisfactory and you are convinced, then continue. Otherwise, we are prepared to part as friends. These are Babuji's words. Do it for 6 months, regularly, systematically, excluding everything else. If it does not work for you, it does not work for you. We will part as friends. So this is the attitude of the Guru when he accepts not a disciple, but an Abhyasi. This is to be very carefully noted, you see. Abhyasis are millions, disciples are few. To become a disciple of the great master requires a degree of dedication to the practice, which is only a degree of dedication to yourself. A degree of obedience to the Guru's principles and precepts, which is only obedience for your own sake. He gets nothing. In Sahaj Marg, we pay no fees. There are no monthly charges. In most of our ashrams, boarding and lodging is free. All that we pay for is books. And Babuji said, you don't have to buy the books. If you listen to the Guru and obey him, we don't need books. Philosophy, Sahaj Marg, what for? I don't need any philosophy. If I can do it, I again repeat, systematically, regularly, with total dedication to it, to the exclusion of everything else. And in 6 months, I don't prove in myself, to myself, that this works, therefore the Guru is real, he is honest, he is reliable, he is genuine. As Babuji Maharaj said, we are free to part, shaking hands as friends. So this is the essence of the Guru-disciple relationship in our Sahaj Marg system. I urge all preceptors to talk to the future Abhyasis when they meet them precisely in this fashion. Tell them, I promise you nothing, the Guru promises you nothing, the system promises you everything. It is the system which makes promises. You put this and this and this together, it will become a house. No, but I did not, it is tilting. Did you use the plumb line? I left it at home. Your problem. Even insurance will not pay. See? How do you expect to survive in Sahaj Marg for your benefit if you don't follow these things properly? So I urge all Abhyasis to remember this. The Guru has never made a promise. He cannot make a promise. One of the last things Babuji said to me was, never commit your Guru. I said, what does it mean? He said, don't make any promises to Abhyasis which will be a burden on me. Because anything you promise, I have to fulfill. It only means I have no power to fulfill my own promise. For this too, I have to depend on my master. So you see, we depend on the master for almost everything in this world, in this existence, into the future. Because without his nod, as Babuji said of himself vis-a-vis Lalaji Maharaj, he could not even drink water without Lalaji's permission. How much more you have to depend when you make a promise. So Lalaji said, don't commit to your Guru. Babuji Maharaj said the same thing to me, don't commit to your Guru by making any promises. Never make a promise. because you by yourself can fulfill nothing. You need me to fulfill it. Because it's like a son, who says, give me the cycle for 2 hours. And he says, if I don't give it back, my father will pay you. Here it is implicit. Chariji, can I reach heaven in 3 years? And suppose a foolish preceptor says, yes, I promise you that. He cannot. Even a doctor cannot make a promise. Doctor can say, life is in God's hands. Babaji Maharaj said, life and death are in God's hands. Anything in between these two, a guru has control over. He can regulate. He can remake. He can reclassify your life, provided it is deserved in his opinion. What makes it deserving? Your condition, spiritual, your dedication to yourself by practicing this, your devotion to the master, which will all culminate in love for the master, and when you love him, you become his. Then there is nothing that he will not do for you, provided he thinks it's good for you. In this connection, I have always felt what Babaji wrote in his book, Truth Eternal. The first chapter is called Lalaji. It's about 50 pages. When I first read it, I was moved, because if there is a love letter on earth, it is that. All that mushy nonsense which people write, Thine eyes are the stars, and your hair is like the clouds on a monsoon day, and your lips are like coral, and your teeth are like pearls. This is all bosh. No lover can write like that. It's only flattery to gain what you want from your beloved. A true love letter, if you want an example, read the first chapter of Truth Eternal and see what it says. I don't know if I should read a few pages out of it. I will try, because I know my mouth gets dry when I try to read or even speak. But he says, it was during this particular era of hopes and fears, skepticism, misguided beliefs, uncertainties and suspense, that the divine light descended on earth on the auspicious day of Basant Panchami, February the 2nd, 1873. Samarth Guru Mahatma Sri Ramchandra was born at Fatehgarh in the state of Uttar Pradesh in India. A silent promise was made by nature. A disguised hand was extended for help. And though unknowingly, humanity set about throwing off its load and freeing itself from the iron bonds it had itself put on. That is how Babaji describes the advent of Lalaji, Then he goes on to say where his family lived and maternal influence and how he was born and all sorts of things, And nearly all the events of the great master's life are shrouded in obscurity. Babaji always felt that the secrets of nature are always shrouded in mystery. Birth is not for science, according to him. Birth is a mystery, and the moment that mystery is opened and made up a subject of science, in not some, but in a very certain sense, when a mystery is exploded, it is made profane, it is without dignity, it becomes something, as Babaji used to say, a market topic for conversation. A topic reduced to the roads, to the streets for discussion, for conversation, and for condemnation. Lalaji has left no autobiography, and no more than only one of his photos is available. He became so popular and was so much loved by the Hindus as well as the Muslims that, like Kabir, everybody tried to put his own stamp to his teachings and to reserve to himself the enormous number of letters written and the vast letters produced by him. Some literature is also available with Adi Guru's grandsons residing at Fatehgarh, who proposed to print it at their convenience. Yeah. And about his marriage and his life, And describing him, he says, Lalaji was of perfect build and average height. He grew up into a perfect specimen of graceful manhood. His gracefulness was an outward expression of his inward harmony of soul. This is a hint to all those who seek grace and beauty in their comportment, as we say in English. These things come from inner harmony and not from cosmetics and from teaching how to walk and by balancing books on your head and all that sort of thing. See? There cannot be a more glorious object in creation than a human being, replete with benevolence, meditating in what manner he may render himself most acceptable to the Creator by doing good to his creatures. We should not try to please human beings. He is very specific, Babuji Maharaj, about Lalaji. There cannot be a more glorious object in creation than a human being, replete with benevolence, meditating in what manner he may render himself most acceptable to the Creator by doing good to his creatures. See, we are not between the devil and the deep sea. We are between God and humanity. We must make ourselves most pleasing to our Creator, God, and know from Him, learn from Him how we can do the best that we can to His creation, His creatures, namely human beings. This is the purpose of every human being born on earth. He doesn't say it's for saints. He doesn't say it's for gurus. Lalaji was such a person, which means we have the right to be one, provided we behave like him, we live like him, we become like him. He had a wheaten complexion and attractive features, and so on and so forth, you know. And most remarkable were his eyes, which were like two bright stars, which appeared to see through everyone and everything. They were like serene lakes of immeasurable depth. Sleep and wakefulness seemed to be intermingled in repose in those eyes, which caused an awakening in a human being with a single movement of their lids. Babuji used to tell me that Lalaji could liberate a human being with one blink of his eyes, you know, one blink. That was all that was necessary. So what must have been the effect of that blink? And where was that effect on whom? On the Abhyasi? No. That blink was sort of, you know, pressing the button of a bell which rang upstairs somewhere in God's domain, and God said, okay, so let it be, send him up. You see? Because there again, Lalaji says, I myself can do nothing. Everything is in his hands. I am but a beggar at his door with a begging bowl held in my hand. It is subsequently somewhere, you see. And what should be the expression in our eyes? It is what is mentioned in the Vedas as the divine state, you see. It is called Yoga Nidra, where one is apparently asleep but eternally awake. Between the two states, which is called Yoga Nidra. See, not Nidra, sleep, not Yoga, meditation, but combination of both, which is meditation permanently as a state of being. God is in repose in that state of Yoga Nidra, outwardly asleep, inwardly aware, totally aware of everything that is happening in his creation. As he was under the influence of amiable feelings, his countenance had acquired a beauty of the highest order. Again, the inner state is reflected in the face. Beauty cannot be cultivated from the outside. No amount of cosmetics, no amount of massage will bring beauty to a face unless inner harmony makes the lines of the face graceful, appeal to all humanity. Even animals look at you and they fall at your feet. His hair was silken to the touch. One front tooth was comparatively larger. A small but beautiful beard and a moustache adorned his face. His hands and feet were quite tender. See? I mean, this sort of, I can only say not praise, but eulogizing of the Guru. Which one of us is capable? By nature, he was always calm, but was easily moved by the pain and pleasure of others. Possessed of a melodious voice, he was an adept at employing sweet language for communicating his thoughts and captivating the hearts of his audience. Rarely could he be angered. Not given to superfluous talk, he spoke as little as possible, but in answering questions put to him, he dealt with them exhaustively, and seldom was the questioner left in doubt. In case there happened to be one who could not understand, he brought about the desired state in that person who acquired an experience and knowledge of the subject under discussion. Carlyle says, as also Chesterfield observes, speech is great, but silence is greater. Mostly Lalaji Saab kept his eyes down. He did not laugh around, but simply smiled. His smile announced goodness and sweetness and brightened others by its spiritual vivacity. See? I mean, I can go on reading, but just a sample of what a man could write about his beloved, who was not his lover, who was not a female, and with whom love did not mean what we take it to mean. It meant adoration. And the sum and substance of this love was, as Babuji said, if you love with the expectation of something in return, it is sauda, as we say in Hindi. It is a transaction. You give me something, I give you something. You do this, I do that. You know, and this is the curse of modern love as it is understood. When even children demand, you know, in America, I believe it's the practice that you paid the feds and I'll give you $2. And he says, yes, Dad, I want a bicycle for Christmas. It will go into my piggy bank for Christmas. Of course, according to the, you know, the aims and the tenets and maxims of America, success is what distinguishes a man. Success in commerce, in his life, in making money. And nothing succeeds like success is the motto of America. They want power, they want domination, they want success. It's the policy of the government, and it's the, shall we say, the summum bonum of the existence of the individual. They want nothing else. Happiness, these things are supposed to bring happiness. When I am powerful, when I have a lot of money, I shall be happy. There's no talk of contentment. Contentment doesn't find favor with them. Because if you are content, you are stagnant. And you don't progress. Without progress, there is no success. But then what happens when you succeed? You progress more. See? Spirituality teaches us to be content with what we have. Illat, killat, zillat, I have already spoken to you about. We are taught to have a little less of everything, little less of money, little less of health, and a lot of criticism from critics. All of which make us turn inward, all of which make us move away from the pulls of pleasure and success of the world. Where I should have 1 rupee, I have only 90 paisa, it's enough for me. I don't have to go out into the clamor of this world to earn 2 rupees, 5 rupees, 50 rupees, 500 rupees. Because when you start moving up the scale, there is no end. Whereas when you try to simplify your life, it can be done in 1 minute. You just walk out of your house with your walking stick. You saw this being done by Bilbo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings. He just took his walking stick and a small bundle with a couple of sandwiches to go to the land of the fairies. So you see, I read one small story by Rudyard Kipling about a man who was a common man but who became Prime Minister of a state in India. And one day he retired. He just took off his royal coats and put it on a chair, took out his own coat and put it on, put on his cap, took his walking stick and walked away. As Kipling says, into the nowhere in the large land of India. And he kept walking north. He went on walking north until he came to the mountains. Then the cities were left behind. Then he went on walking until he climbed the mountains. There were villages first, then were fewer villages, then finally no villages except far between. Finally, on top of a mountain, he came to a shrine of Lord Shiva. There he sat. He had no plans, he had no hopes, he had no expectations. At the same time, he was not in despair, he was not in fear, he had no longings. He was there. In the faith that if he had to be there, he was there. Whatever has to happen would happen, and he had nothing to worry about. There was a village at the foot of the mountain. Slowly, those people started coming up, bringing him food and water. And he continued to exist, became older and older. The children of the village started coming and playing. The deer of the forest used to come and sit near him. One day, 2 deers, by the time he was very old, he could barely walk. 2 horned antlers, they came and they lifted him up, by putting their head under his armpits and took him away. And an earthquake followed. There the story ends, you see. For serenity, for peace of mind, what we require is really nothing. Not the nothing in the material sense of he has no house, he has no chairs, he has no sofas, he has no aircraft, not like that. In that sense, I have nothing means so many things, you see. I don't have a private plane, I don't have a Mercedes car. That nothing we will never achieve. But this nothing, which means I am full of nothingness, and that nothingness pervades my existence, and that nothingness is pregnant with the possibility of everything in this universe. If you can think of the mystery of a tiny atom-sized egg in a woman's womb, which has produced you and you and you. Don't you see the mystery of nothingness? What was there before? Nothing. What happened? Oh, what happens to every married couple in the universe? And how did it happen? Love brought it about. What did happen during that? Well, technically speaking, something happened, something went better. These two met and something others two met inside, both atomic size or even microatoms. And there results the miracle of life, a new entity, potentially loaded with the possibility of perfection and liberation. It is born. It continues to be loved. It grows up with love. It was born by love. It grows up with love. It must continue to lead its life with love for everyone. Then that life is ennobled. It may not be a perfect life in material terms. The father herded 3 cows, he may herd 5 cows. That is progress. Or may have nothing. That's also no progress. No regress either. It is as it is. In India, we don't compare father's existence with son. Oh, father is a collector, son is a plowman. Or father was a plowman, son is a collector, or the director general of police. We never think like that. Father is father, son is son. Always. Whatever the father may have been. So you see, if in these attitudes of reverence, not for a father because he was successful and became the president of the country, but because he lived life within the confines of whatever environment destiny brought him into, with whatever ability he was endowed with, bestowed with, and whatever by way of material things he had, which were again nature's gift to him, if he had a sense of completion in his work and can die in the satisfaction, Lord, I have done what I could with my life and with whatever thou hast blessed me with, this I offer unto thee. That is the final surrender. But today we want success, we want millions and billions, and at the end of the life, a large family going to court over who gets what. If the father but could see the children fighting in courts of law, tearing each other's heart out, the mother still alive, and saying, what have my sons come to? They were not like this when their father was there. Yes, but mummy dear, those 8,500 crores and 85,000 crores which your husband left behind, If he had disposed of it during his life and said, you get 5 crores, you get 5 crores, let's go to charity, how easy it would have been. Instead, they are quarreling now, and you don't know whose side to take because both are your sons. You see, this is what prosperity does. What does contentment do? If there is a problem with the two brothers, one brother says, brother, you keep it. After all, you are my brother. You are not going to see me dead. Keep everything and give me what you think you deserve. Don't give me at all if it doesn't matter. I will lie down in a corner of my father's house. You feed your dog, you are not going to do less for me. There's another story of an emperor, who had 3 young children, aged 8, 6, and 2. The emperor died, there was no heir, so the minister usurped the throne. Instead of killing these babies or children, he was, as he thought, merciful and told us, take them to the borders of this land and leave them there. The 3 children went to an inn within the border of the other next country. They lived for some time, then the eldest lived there, the other 2 went off to make their fortunes in whatever way they could. The eldest lived as a servant, very devoted, very dedicated, only food for his work. Eventually he grew up, became a man, 20, 22, 24. The innkeeper said, you are the best man to manage this inn. He gave him both his inn and his daughter. They were married. In due course, they had 3 children and very happy, content. One day, they are standing in the door of that small inn, little hotel, and they see a huge cloud of dust coming this side. It was the second brother with an enormous army he had managed to get together, coming to fight the former prime minister of his father's land. And they stopped at the inn for rest. They found they were brothers, they embraced each other. And the eldest brother said, brother, let you stay here for some time, what's the hurry? He agreed. 2 days later, another column of dust. And it was the third brother with the elephants and camels in a huge convoy loaded with jewels and gold, wealthy beyond dreams. They recognized each other and all 3 were very happy to be united. Now started the problem, you see. At night they were conspiring. The army man was thinking how he could, kill off his youngest brother and take over the whole wealth of that caravan. And the youngest brother was thinking how with his wealth he could buy off the army and have both. The eldest brother somehow, because he was simple-minded, content, he could guess their thoughts. Next morning he spoke to the brothers. Nature has united us not to fight and kill off each other. Some purpose is there for us to exist together. Be content like me. They said, how? He said, you man, my youngest brother, use your wealth to pay off the army of our middle brother. That's what they did, and they lived content ever after. See? And the famous, there are few English mystics on record, British English, Old English. One fellow called James Allen has written about sparrows, you see. How in winter you throw a scrap of bread and 100 parrots will cooperatively eat it. But in spring you put a whole loaf of bread and 1 sparrow will sit on it and prevent everything from coming near. He says prosperity breeds selfishness, breeds hatred of others, breeds violence. And this is true, there are historical events recorded during World War II when the British people had to go into their undergrounds against bombings of the Germans and learn to exist peacefully, 5 people sharing 1 cup of tea, children being given bread, adults nothing to eat. You see, in times of cataclysms of nature, destruction, disease, the human feelings of people come out. In times of prosperity, we are only selfish, greedy, and how we can kill the opposition, according to the American terminology. Even in tennis, kill the so-and-so. It is, what is that tennis fellow's name? The brat, as they used to call him? I forget. Huh?
John McEnroe.
McEnroe. He was called the brat because he was shouting at everybody, cursing everybody, using four-letter words against our umpires. Because his father said, John, kill the opponent. In sports, in games, you see. So we have to learn to lead life in simplicity, which gives us joy of existence, happiness, joie de vivre. The French say it, the joy of life, not of attainment, not of possession, not of picnics, not of love affairs. Viva l'amour, no. The joy of sheer existence, that you can relax in a chair on my veranda and sit and thank God that I'm alive. If this we can do day after day, day after day, day after day, seeking no indulgence, seeking no titillation, seeking no adventure, seeking nothing except this infinite joy of existence given to me only by my Creator and my cooperative self, my life is culminating in that joy whenever it may come.